Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Ahmed and I am an anesthesiology resident physician and the founder of Admission System. In this video, I want to go over the popular interview question, tell me about yourself. And I'm going to discuss what the interviewer is really trying to assess with this question, what are the most common mistakes that people make in answering this question, and not only how to answer this question, but how can you use the answers to this question to take the interview in your control? I always tell people when it comes to interviews, if you have received an interview, there is a seat in that program with your name on it. It is your job to prove to the admissions committee why they should give it to you and not to someone else. And the way you answer this question really serves as a great way to prove that. So what is the interviewer really trying to assess when they ask you, tell me about yourself? Can you snapshot your life's relevant experiences and accomplishments? Do you possess the qualities that a candidate for this program should have? And can you give the interviewer material to follow up on in subsequent questions? And that's pretty much what the interviewer is really trying to assess. So now I want to go over, the format on how to answer this question. So you want to start talking about your background and lead this into major pursuits you had in college or graduate school, leading forward to work experiences, and then finally culminating in where you are today and what your future goals are, as well as something unique about yourself. So when it comes to talking about the background, before you even get started, it's very important to display positive energy and body language in a very strong and confident manner, because a lot of what you say during the interview is, it's important, but how you say it is more important than what you say. And it's important to have the confidence behind yourself when you give your answers. So you can usually start off with saying, hi, my name is, whatever your name is, what your family situation was like, where you went to high school, a little bit about your college. So if I was to answer this question for myself, I would be like, hi, my name is Shariar. I was the oldest of three, son of a nurse and a cab driver in New Jersey. So even though I had a little bit of a humble background when I was growing up, I never really used that as an excuse not to take of every opportunity that was before me. So when I was in high school, I watched all of the Khan Academy math and science videos, and the knowledge I gained from those really helped me excel academically. So I got into undergrad for free. And when I got there, not only did I work hard academically, but I also strove to become a leader outside the classroom by forcing myself to go into difficult situations because I was really determined to grow in new ways. So now you've kind of given a tidbit about your background and also a confident personality that you have about yourself that makes you want to become a leader and try new different types of things. So that's how you're kind of structuring the background portion of this answer. Now you want to lead this towards what you did in college and really focus on 2, maybe 3 extracurricular activities that you felt like you became a leader in, or that you had the most experience in which you grew the most. And also briefly mention any research you did, because you're applying for academic programs, so odds are the people who work in the department, whatever you're applying to, are academics. And one of the main sources of funding they get is research, so that's why they're really interested in candidates who have an inclination towards academia as well as research. So, for example, what I would say for what I did was, I joined the newspaper, I worked for 3 years and eventually rose to the top and became a senior editor. Khan Academy to me was very important when I was in high school, and I felt the need to give back when I made it to college. So I actually started tutoring for free. And then eventually after a year, everyone got to know me. I revamped the entire tutoring curriculum with new tidbits of Khan Academy, and I started off doing one-on-one tutoring, and it ended up having a whole classroom of 20, 30 students at a time, which was very rewarding and helped me grow my communication skills. I also started doing research. and kept at it for the next 4 years over the course of my undergrad. This resulted in a publication as well as a couple different poster presentations. And my research in chemistry actually initially exposed me to medicine, which was very intellectually stimulating for me. And I explored that interest through more volunteering activities. And those were the activities that really convinced me that this was the field for me. So you notice what I did there? So what I did in this part of the answer is I tied my experiences from college into values that the admissions committee is looking for. And these are good communication skills, leadership activities, being a force in the community, being academically inclined, willingness to do research. So you want to highlight these activities. Like, don't just say like I'm a good communicator, but talk about experiences in which you felt you grew that made you that type of a communicator. And the other thing is you kind of want to briefly mention what experience it was that exposed you to whatever field you're applying to. So in this case, medical school. And you don't want to answer why you want to become a physician or why you're applying for certain residency at this point of the answer. But you do want to give the interviewer a hint that, for example, here they can ask me about what were those volunteer experiences? What was that research? It really, because you can anticipate the questions that the interviewer will ask you. And in doing so, you're already 2 steps ahead because you know what they're going to ask. So when they ask you those questions, you can confidently respond and really elaborate on those activities that you alluded to. So now, lastly, you want to tie to the present day, where you are right now, what your future goals are, and also talk about, anything special about yourself. So you can be like, those experiences brought me to, pursue medicine, and that's what brought me here today. In my free time, I enjoy cooking. This is a shameless promotion, but I run an Instagram cooking page called Foodie Prescription. And I also like to do spicy food competitions. This part is actually very important. It's probably one of the more important parts of the interview, even though might think, it's my research, my academics and all that stuff. They've already looked at your CV. So they know you're smart, you're intelligent, you've done all the things that are necessary for you to get into medical school or residency. That's why you have the interview. But that's not why they're gonna pick you. They want to pick you because you're personable, because you'll fit well with the vibe of the program to which you're applying to. And the way you answer, or you finish answering, tell me about yourself, by saying something unique about yourself, this is how the interviewer will most likely remember you compared to hundreds of other candidates. Applying to American medical school is one of the most competitive things there is to do in life. Admissions rate 1%, maybe even less. The medical school that I went to, 17,000 people applied, and they only accepted 260. Now you can do the math and see how difficult that percentile is to get acceptance. But the way you do it is, you put your best foot forward, you bring forward that confident energy, but you really want to talk about 1 or 2 very unique things that are only about you. If you have trouble thinking about this, just ask your friends or someone you meet, what is something that they really remember you for? And try to come up with some funny or really unique example that exemplifies that. So for me, it was cooking. I love cooking, I love eating, I'm a huge foodie, and that's why I mentioned, the food page that I run, and people were drawn to that. So that's pretty much, tying it together, how to answer, tell me about yourself. Now, in this last segment of the video, I want to go over what are the most common mistakes that people make when they choose to answer this question. The most common thing is they don't really follow an organized format. So they'll jump from one topic to another, and it doesn't really give the interviewer enough time to process what they're saying, and it just comes off as disorganized. Another mistake that candidates sometimes make is they'll talk too much about one part, such as like the background or one particular extracurricular activity and they'll just ignore everything else. And this might make the interviewer particularly frustrated, especially if they're getting bored, and they might actually just move on and just ask you a totally unrelated question. This is really bad because it can jeopardize your chance to take control of the interview. By taking control of the interview, I mean you give the interviewer, little pieces of food that they can kind of pick on, and those will be the types of things that they would ask you questions about. And because the interview itself is only a certain amount of time, if you can control what questions the interviewer is going to ask you, then you have control over that time slot and you come out on top. So they're less likely to ask you lowball questions that you might not have anticipated. So this is what I mean by really answering this question as strongly as you can. Another mistake that interviewers can sometimes make is they won't talk enough. Like they'll talk too little, and this can leave the interviewer feeling that the candidate is not confident and they might not necessarily deserve that seat in the class for which they've been given an interview. The other thing that I feel like candidates can sometimes do wrong is the way you finish this question by saying something unique about yourself. You might just say something really bland or boring, like I like long walks, like something that doesn't really pop out. If you're smart enough to, go to college, to write a personal statement, apply to medical school, dental school, residency, I'm 100% sure that there's at least one or two activities that you do that no one else can do as good as you. And this is a perfect time to focus on that. One other thing that I feel like interviewers can sometimes improve upon is having a low level of energy, not having a confident voice, and having poor body language. In another video, I'll explore, how to optimize your voice, how to optimize body language, and those tips will really help you present the best foot forward, especially because most of the communication you do ends up being nonverbal in nature. Of course, one easy thing that you can always do is you can always just smile, be friendly. Now with COVID, I guess we're doing fist bumps, but in the times of handshaking, you want to give a really firm handshake that really emphasizes your confidence. And lastly, the other most common mistake that I feel like a lot of candidates can sometimes make is not enough practice. I cannot emphasize the importance of practicing in front of a mirror or a family member or a friend for honest feedback. And with enough practice, you will crush this interview and take control and hopefully get that spot that you deserve. So if you thought this video was helpful, please give a thumbs up and follow Foodie Prescription on Instagram for easy recipes. Dr. Evan checking out. All the best.